Your host, Bill Teegins.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Eddie Sutton Show. Boy, a great week for the Cowboys' victories over Iowa State and over Oklahoma. Coach, last week we talked about how important it was to take care of business at home, and you certainly did that last week.
We played very well in both games. The final scores are not indicative of how close those games were. We beat Iowa State on Saturday 79-66, and the University of Oklahoma on Monday on ESPN 86-68. But they were much more close than the final score.
And your team really seemed to be inspired. Obviously, the crowd had a lot to do with that, taking care of business. But the game against Oklahoma, that was as loud, I think, as Gallagher-Iba has been in a long time.
Well, everyone realizes it's been around basketball for a long time how important the home crowd is as far as playing the part of the sixth man. And I've been a little disappointed in our crowds this year in comparison to the other 3 seasons that I've coached here at Oklahoma State. But they certainly got an A+ as far as the way they behaved, and they did it in a very class manner. I thought our fans were well behaved, but they were enthusiastic, and I'm sure that anyone that saw the game on television, I've had a lot of people call me, they said, "Golly, I don't see how you can coach in a place like that as loud as it is," and that's the way it should be.
Well, it was certainly exciting, and we're going to take a look at some great highlights from Iowa State and Oklahoma when we come back as the Eddie Sutton Show continues. Welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. Some great highlights to show you, and Coach, this is our first look at Iowa State in this strange schedule this year.
You know, Iowa State lost a very key player in Meyer, and they were playing excellent basketball, and then once they lost him at the beginning of conference play, they really kind of struggled, but now they're playing very good basketball. They've made that adjustment, and some of their players now better understand their role, and Mikalik and Hoiberg have taken up a lot of that slack. Both those guys averaging 20 points a game. So Iowa State played a very, very good basketball game against us. They shortened the length of the game by holding the ball offensively. Good defense. They ran a triangle and 2 and tried to take Rutherford and Thompson out of the game, and they did an excellent job there. So they're going to beat some people. There's a nice penetrating dribble by Brook, kickoff to Scott Sutton, and he hit the shot, and there's Scott again. Scott probably had his best offensive game of the season. He had 11 points, also had 4 rebounds and a couple assists, so a good ball game by Scott.
Oh, when Randy and Brooks were having trouble, Scott did a great job. Brendan came in and played well.
Brendan had, I believe, 6 points in the game and played very well. And the first half, we only had 31 points, and Brendan and Scott had 14 of them. So Iowa State's defense was good, and there's Hoiberg hitting a couple of points there on the baseline. Shot of our bench. Brendan tried to drive, pitches it out to Brooks. Brooks kicks back to Brendan, and you can see when you play a trick defense like that, there are a lot of open spots. They may take the ball out of the hands that are your good scorers, but then someone else has to step up and make plays, and there's Brendan hitting another shot, and we're headed for the dressing room with a 31-29 lead.
Were you surprised at all that was Iowa State's approach in this game?
I thought it was a great game plan. I thought that was the only way they had a chance to beat us here. And the one thing that we did not do in the first half, we didn't get the ball to the big guy, and that was one of the things I said at halftime. We got to get it into Bryant. There's Bryant on a nice feed to Pierce, and he lays it up. Bryant led our ball club in scoring with 23, also pulled down 14 rebounds, so a big game for him.
Ben Baum into the lineup, hits a big jumper from outside.
Ben came in, hadn't played in a long time, and didn't play like a freshman. Played very well.
There's Mikalik from way out, but he...
Fred Burley did a good job. There's a great rebound by Rutherford. He's averaging about 5 rebounds, and that's a lot of boards for a guard. Nice pass by Brooks to Fred Burley. Fred had 17 points and also did an excellent job defensively on Mikalik.
And having missed a game, I think he was really psyched up and ready to get back to play.
We had suspended him for the game before that, and he was ready to play. He didn't like that cheerleading over there on the bench.
Country inside. Again, he continues to just be a very steady, strong performer for you.
Well, he's an excellent basketball player, and he draws so much attention. And good defensive play there by Brooks and Randy. We doubled up and forced Holloway to throw the ball away.
They've got about 3 young guys who are freshmen who probably could be some pretty good players down years from now.
Iowa State's a good basketball team. There's a great defensive play by Bryant. Bryant had 6 blocks in the game. But Iowa State will have a good team if they get, I mean, they can play with anybody probably right now, but in our league, especially in Ames. But when they get Meyer back, they'll be very tough. And next year, they'll have Hoiberg, Mikalik, and Meyer, which might be the best front line in college basketball, plus these other perimeter players that, as you said, are freshmen.
Well, there's Fred doing a great job. Country, 6 blocks in that game. Also had, I think, 6 against Oklahoma. Are people challenging him more, or what's the difference?
He's becoming much more alert when one of our players makes a mistake and they have a player on the other team drive to the basket. Well, he's there to knock the ball away. There was a time when I didn't think he was quite as alert as he should be, but he's gotten much better in that area of his game.
He's certainly doing the job defensively now. Good ball movement by the Cowboys right there.
Keontae Roberts came in this ball game, didn't score a lot of points, but I thought played well. And then in our victory over the University of Oklahoma, Keontae played probably his best game of the year.
Well, this was just a tough one. It was tough to break away until late in the game.
Here's a great defensive play by Scott Sutton. He read they were trying to run what you'd call a back screen there for Hoiberg to get a shot, and he jumped in the passing lane, made the play. Good feed inside, and Bryant was fouled. He's getting better on his free throws. That's one of the areas that we've got to continue to improve if we're going to have the season that we all want. We've just not shot as well at the free throw line as we need to, especially Bryant.
Country inside, boy, that's an automatic, almost that shot for him.
Got a great touch. For a big fella, he's got one of the softest touches that I believe I've seen.
So it's a victory for the Cowboys as they win it at Gallagher. There's the final. You see 79-66. Not much time to enjoy that one because Oklahoma coming to town.
You know, one of the things, when we got ready to play Iowa State, I told our players, I know we got a big game with the University of Oklahoma on Monday night. We've got to focus in on the Cyclones. And in the first half, I don't believe that we had the intensity level that we displayed in the second half against Iowa State, and that was the reason we were able to break away. But it's hard to impress upon young people. You got to play them one at a time. But after our victory over Iowa State, well, then it was time to get ready for Oklahoma, and like you said, we only had one day.
Well, it was certainly worth looking at, and let's take a look at them. Some great highlights to show you. Again, if you weren't there, you really missed something because this place was really rocking.
Terrific setting for college basketball. This is what it's all about, and both teams played very, very hard, and the University of Oklahoma fans should be proud of their ball club because they certainly rose to the occasion to come into a tough setting like this. And in the early going, they jumped out on us. I think they had us down 10 points. We kept pecking away and finally got back in the ball game just before halftime.
Jeff Webster inside, boy, he's a scoring machine there. It's 9-2, the Sooners are up.
Jeff Webster hit some, between he and Randy Rutherford, you would have seen some of the toughest shots under pressure that I've ever seen. There were a couple that Randy had people in his face, and the same way with Jeff Webster at the other end. Webster led all scorers with 30 points.
15 in each half. The amazing thing with Rutherford was to have 3 at halftime and then just to explode. And take a look, because that's it. That's the first half for Randy scoring-wise.
If you were going to evaluate halves of basketball that Oklahoma State players have played, his would be in the top 10 for sure, because it was an unbelievable second half of shooting that he put on.
There's Brendan Manzer. Talk about Brendan. This is the strangest thing.
Well, Brendan Manzer, before we played Oklahoma in Norman, got hit in the face and had 28 stitches. The day before we played at the University of Oklahoma on Sunday, just before this game, he was in the weight room and one of the weights broke and hit him in the head. He had to have 30 stitches. So here's a young man, 58 stitches in his face. And he said, well, if that means a good omen in preparation, if we play Oklahoma again, I'll get hit again in the face. So it was kind of funny, but it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at the time.
Country shooting from a little bit further out against Oklahoma and hitting some jumpers.
Well, as we said earlier, he's got a marvelous touch. And one of these days, there's a great follow shot by Bryant, but one of these days he's going to step out there and hit some threes. Maybe it'll be next season. But he gets out there, he's got good range, good defense here.
Fred
tried to get
well.
the ball into Webster, and Fred read the play well and made the interception.
Brooks with a couple of big threes in the first half.
That'll bring the fans out of their seats when they see Brooks or Randy or Brendan or Scott, our 4 best perimeter shooters, line up around that three-point line.
That's a
wonderful shot by Brooks under heavy pressure. Has good ability to be bumped and yet still throw the ball up softly off the glass. Good hustle play. Didn't quite get there, but made a great effort and went into the press row.
Brooks is he's a guy that gets not only his teammates but the crowd really inspired, doesn't he? He's really an energetic guy.
He's always using those gestures. If he doesn't think the crowd is loud enough, well, he'll let them know and try to get them out of their seats. Very, very good basketball player. Here you see getting a rebound, leading the break. Nice feed. Nice finish by Keone Roberts.
Keone's playing better too, isn't he?
As I said, I think this is the best game he played. He's correcting some of the carelessness. He's better understanding what we want out of him at both ends of the floor. And as I've said so many times, has a chance to be a great player.
I don't think you needed any seats in Gallagher-Iba that night. Everybody stood the whole game. Cowboys up by 4 at the half. You feeling pretty good at that point?
Well, you never feel good till the final horn goes off and you look up and you're ahead. But because Oklahoma, as I said, is a very good basketball team, and they certainly fought hard in this contest. And this game was close all the way until about 2.5 minutes at the end.
Here's Randy. He's starting to heat up right here.
Randy Rutherford in this ball game was 8 out of 10 and broke the record for three-point shots. Brooks had held that record. 8 out of 11, 27 points and 6 rebounds and 2 assists. What a marvelous performance it was by Randy. He always plays well against the Sooners. I think his 3 highest scoring games have been against the University of Oklahoma. He had 33 in our first victory down at Norman. There's Brendan Manzer hitting a field goal, and here he goes again.
He doesn't even have to set up very long.
Well, we set him up some of those. His teammates gave him some good screens. Now he's got one coming up here that I think we're going to start calling the Pistol Pete Spatial because he shot that thing from about 25 feet right there on top of Pistol Pete.
Beautiful pass inside by Sutton.
Nice pass by Scott to Bryant. He completes the play. Here's the shot.
That's just unbelievable.
If you're on that other bench, that's just like driving a stake in your heart because you defended the play pretty well and you played defense for 35 seconds, and that's what happened. That's what we got to get Terry Collins doing more of. He's the quickest player we have defensively. We're trying to get him to run through passing lanes, and that's what he did. He went down and dunked the ball. It was a big defensive play. They go to a half-court trapping defense here, a zone. We had problems with it, but you saw in that last play, nice play from Bryant off to Burley, and he hit it, and we solved it. Here we go again. Got a little stagnant offensively and got to stand around when they went to that defense. Good hustle play. Fred knocks the ball forward to Randy, and Ryan Miner tries to make the defensive play and is called for a foul. Randy's our best free throw shooter. I think in the Iowa State game he was 8 out of 8. In this ball game he was 3 out of 4 from the charity stripe.
You're under 2 minutes at this point, and watch Randy get this shot off as the shot clock expires. That's unbelievable.
Well, Angus challenged the shot about as hard as you can without fouling. Good defensive board play here.
There's Randy with another rebound.
What you call penetrating into the defense, forcing a help situation, and kicking the ball off, and that's something that we teach. There it is again.
There's Randy in a 3 just for the heck of it.
I believe that's his last look at that grin on his face. That tells it all.
Well, he should have been happy after that. That was a great performance.
Hadn't been since 1981 that we swept the series from the Sooners, and it's such a big game for all the people in this state. It gives people the bragging rights on the campus of OU or on our campus or all around the state. And every young man that grows up in Oklahoma, I guess he grows up with the idea, I want to play at one of those places. So you see those Oklahomans playing just a little bit harder than they normally do in most games. And here's Coach Tubbs getting heaved out of the game by Bill Kennedy. He didn't like the way things were going and took an early departure 2 seconds from the end. But great ball game. As I said earlier, both teams played hard, and after grading the film, both teams played well. And it was a game that anyone that likes college basketball, they would have enjoyed that contest.
Kept a great week, and Gallagher-Iba Arena, as you know, is a great place to watch a game. We're going to take an inside look at that when we continue here with the Eddie Sutton Show. When you talk about Gallagher-Iba Arena, you're talking about one of the great home court advantages in all of college basketball. And on this week's Off the Court feature, Tom Dorado, photographer Elaine Johns, and editor Wade Pearson give us a special look at a special building.
It is called the Bedlam Series. And it won't take you very long here tonight, Derek Dickey, to find out why they call it that. Woo! Go Bucks! Well, we got 2 seconds left. Shot clock down to 5. Good hit. That's a 24-footer. No, 7 to 14, 50%. Cowboys are tied. They can break it here. Dishes it up.
Another outstanding feature by Tom Dorado. Mr. Iba would have liked that game with Oklahoma and Iowa State because we did some things that he preached. We played excellent defense. We held the opponent to 40%. We shot over 50% from the field, so that meant good shot selection. We out-rebounded them, and our kids played hard. So he would have liked those 2 games, but he loved that arena, and I do too. We've won 49, lost 4 games in the 3+ years I've been here. And since Gallagher-Iba was open 56 years ago, we won over 75% of our games. So it is a neat place to play. I've been able to coach at some places where it's tough for the opposing team to win, in Arkansas and in Kentucky. But I truly think Gallagher-Iba is the toughest for the opponent to come in and beat the home team.
There's certainly not a bad seat in the house. There's a busy week ahead for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and we'll take a look at that when the Eddie Sutton Show continues. Busy week for the Cowboys. It all gets started on Saturday. Coach, you get a chance to go against the #1 team in the conference, the Missouri Tigers.
I don't think anyone ever thought Missouri or anybody could be undefeated at this stage of the season, but they're 8-0, and we've got a tough assignment. They beat us here in Gallagher for our only loss of the year, and you can see they're 8-0. Kansas and our ball club are tied for second. Everyone else in the league's lost at least 4 times. So if you look at it, it would seem to me that probably there's only 3 teams that really have a legitimate shot there of competing for the crown. And if we get out of Missouri with a victory, we're right back in it. If we lose, I'm not saying that we're completely out.
Right.
Mathematically, you're not, but it's going to be tough to catch the Tigers. But our players, I believe, we're going there with a lot of confidence. We know that the game here, we led in the second half by 11 points and just let that game get away. But Missouri is really playing well. Booker is one of the premier players in the league, and of course Crudup and their veteran ball club. They'll be tough. We also got Kansas coming in here next Wednesday and that too will be a great ball game.
So a busy, busy week. Again, it's Missouri on Saturday, then want Gallagher-Iba to be rolling and rocking, as it will be, I'm sure, on Wednesday when the Kansas Jayhawks come to town. Coach, have a good week. We'll see you next week. For Coach Sutton, I'm Bill Teegins. See you next week on the Eddie Sutton Show.